We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners and Burke Britton Financial Partners. This is episode number 107 of the Finances podcast, and we've got you're not our first repeat guest, Michelle, but you're in a select few that are back for podcast number 2. If you want to listen to a little bit of Michelle's background, you go back to episode number 20, where we talked about mental health being a team sport. Today we have General Manager at Read the Play, Michelle Gertz. Michelle, thank you very much for coming back on today. I know you've had a very, very busy day yesterday and a busy week coming up, so thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thanks for having me again.
No worries. I might just get you to come a little bit bit closer. All good. So for those that your first podcast stands alone. You gave a very good sort of background on Read the Play, but for those that are too lazy to go back and listen, don't do that. Go back and have a listen to Michelle's first podcast, but tell us a little bit about Read the Play, who you are and what you do, and then I want to talk a little bit about what's coming up and also what sort of the wrap-up of yesterday's event.
Yeah, look, Read the Play is all about mental health education in sporting clubs with young people. So at the moment, we're working in the 14 to 18-year-old space, and within the next 6 months, we'll have built programs to allow for us to be working with the 12 to 14-year-olds as well. We've predominantly been working in football, netball clubs in the Barwon region for probably nearly 20 years now. And at the moment, it's about the next phase for us and what we need to do next. So we're starting to branch out. Obviously, program development is number one, and then the aim for us is to branch out to as many sports as possible in this region and deliver this program for free.
Can I just, this might be self-evident, but why is there such a need for Read the Play?
Look, I think that even before COVID, there was a need for mental health education within our young people. It's something that has developed over time that I think young people are getting to a point where they're more comfortable talking about mental health than they ever have been, but we don't want to be complacent in that area and just think that they're okay. And certainly after COVID, there's a lot of statistics that are saying that the mental health of our young people is a concern, and we're a preventative program, so we want to talk to everyone that we possibly can in the hope that if someone does start to experience something to do with their mental health that's not quite right, they feel like they've got a little bit of information and maybe some skills that will help them through, and also to know who is around to help them. And you know, we talk a lot about player wellbeing officers at sporting clubs, and they're our main people, but you know, there's more than that as well. So that's what our program's about, is really empowering them and hoping that things don't get catastrophic for them. And if they do, again, you know, we're there to help and provide some support and resources as well as the club, hopefully too, with the work that we do with them.
And why clubs? Why sporting clubs per se as that sort of launching pad for education?
It's a really good question, and I think for me, I've grown up in sporting clubs, and I know you have, Delta. I know that you've got some involvement as well, and for us, it's the environment that a sporting club provides, and we know that when times are great, they're great, but more importantly, when times aren't great, sporting clubs are such a brilliant wraparound support for individuals and families and collectives, and that's why it's really great for us to go there. It's a captive audience. We can grab a group of young people after training. They don't have to go anywhere, and it really is a great environment to have those conversations, and it's not school. I think that's the point too, is school provides some really great mental health services as well, but it looks a little different. So our programs are a little bit more games-based, interactive and fun, but still trying to get that message through.
Now, you probably won't like this next point, because I know you won't want to take credit for this, but I'm looking at the sort of running sheet for yesterday's event, and on the second page there's a 2026 vision, and it talks about the amount of programs that you've been able to instill into local sporting groups. And just to note that Read the Play's been around for 20 years. And so the organisation itself was almost before its time. I suppose it's set up in readiness almost for what we're experiencing today. But I'm looking at just since your tenure, the exponential growth in delivery of services. Do you want to maybe talk to where you've come from in terms of service delivery, and also what the ambition is? Because it's a pretty lofty ambition. You talked about it yesterday, and I thought, wow, that's sort of going all in on getting out into the community and to sporting clubs. So talk to me about where you've come from and the ambitions for the future.
Yeah, look, I think 20 years ago, David Langley, who was at the breakfast yesterday and was rightly acknowledged, he had this idea and he felt that there was a gap in mental health services, and I think that was a personal experience with some family members of himself, and he took it upon himself to build something, and this is what it's called. And in 20 years it's gone from I think a single program that was delivered to a certain age group, and through that time, and certainly in the last 2 years, it's been a really big focus of the board of Read the Play and myself as general manager to really grow that program suite. So we've now got 4 programs available. The latest one was launched in June, and it's a really fun program called Take a Chance, and it's around teenage risk-taking behaviours and positive and negative risks, and we've delivered that to just over 100 basketball players in June, and the feedback was amazing, and we really love the program. So that's sort of where we are right now. And then our next 6 months, thanks to some funding that we received in this financial year, we've been able to employ a new staff member that will lead our program development. So the next 2, and these ones are really important. They're 12 to 14-year-olds programs, and they're about resilience rather than mental health. There's a teamwork element in there. And our topics of conversation in these ones are, unfortunately, smoking and vaping, because that's a really big thing for our young people at the moment to navigate through. And even alcohol consumption, something that is sort of rearing up again. And there's a little bit of survey data we've got from a program we run with the 16 to 18-year-olds. And interestingly, from that it said that I think it was 72% of young people that did that program with us last year, there was a bit over 100 of them, drank alcohol for the first time before 14. So that made us think maybe that's a message we start to have with the 12 to 14-year-olds at that point too. So we've got to that point. So the aim is probably by January, February to launch those programs. And then we'll have 6 that we actually really are desperate to get to every single sport and every single team in this region in the next 2 years. And target 7,500 is our first lofty target. And that's the end of 2025. We want to hit that number, and then we want to double it the year after.
So to give that some context, like how many programs have been delivered in the previous years?
So we're participant-wise, we did just under 1,000 last year, and our aim is 1,500 this year, given our programs that we've got and the resourcing that we've got. So there's a few things that I guess are linked to the numbers. Funding is massive for us, and I verbalised the figure yesterday, and have been having some really good conversations from a government perspective, which is really pleasing to say as well, that I'm hopeful, given it's an election year next year, that this might be something that we can start to really put to the forefront. And if we can get 400,000 across the next 2 years, that will actually give us the resourcing to be able to go out and deliver those programs. And as I know that the teams are there, I know the participants are there, I know that there's sports out there that currently get absolutely nothing in this space that want us to deliver. So I've just got to find them and then work out a way to pay for it.
Sorry, you go, Delta.
I was just going to say, I think if we talk about the fact that Read the Play has a preventative nature or aspect to it, whilst it does, we're almost at such a point with mental health crisis in our young people that funding is going to have to be put in that mental health space. Is that sort of fair to say, Michelle, that, like you say, you've got the programs ready to go, you know there are participants, the barrier is the resource funding? Yeah,
it is. And I think at the moment it's going to critical services, and I completely understand that and support that because we need it. I just need a little carve out just for some preventative programs, and if we can get that happening, and particularly here, I talk this about in this region here, this has been a bit of a pilot, and if we can do what we say we can do, this could be picked up and put anywhere. And this is the message that I'm trying to give, when I'm talking to our ministers and those that are really interested in the program. I say, you know what, like the success of this, it really can be anywhere in this country. And it's not targeted at a specific sport. This is just all sport. So there's a few things that are in our favour at the moment, and then it is just about, really just trying to have as many conversations as possible and trying to get that funnel pointing in the preventative space.
I think if the response to yesterday's breakfast was an indicator, I mean, you had nearly 300 people at the President's Room. Is that right? So the President's Room at the Geelong Footy Club,
yep.
Totally engrossed not only in the speaker, Kath Cashel, but the vision and mission of Read the Play. Maybe let's talk a little bit about the highlights from yesterday, because I know we were just before we were on air, and even my previous podcast guest, I couldn't help but talk about how amazing yesterday was. And as a business, we're stoked to be involved, but just as an attendee, my only regret was that, I think I said to you this after the breakfast, that I wish I'd taken Sadie and Willow, my eldest two girls. But I'll definitely be sending them some of Kath's videos and YouTube. So talk to me a little bit about Kath and the highlights of yesterday and how that wrapped up.
Oh, look, I probably can't put it into words still. I hoped it would be a successful breakfast, and it was. It was. If it had been anything else but Kath, it might not have been, but she certainly made it. It was the right message. There were great synergies around what she was talking about and us at Read the Play and what we do. And I guess the overarching thing for me is that, and what I took away from it was that, you could be kind in any scenario. And for her and the things that she went through, and again, this might be something that we can add a little link there somewhere to a YouTube clip, and people can have a listen and look at themselves. But the things that she's endured over a period of time, that most people would just accept that fate and go, oh well, I'm not going to walk again, and that's that. And she's had to do that twice and come back from it, and then is in a position to actually tell a story so profoundly and do it so well. As I said, it is really hard to put into words, and I'm really rapt that we were the ones that had her with us. Yeah.
I think everyone that was there, I said to you beforehand that I was naive to Kath's story, and that was nice. Like it was a nice surprise just hearing her story, and we won't give away sort of her story. We'll definitely link something in the show notes, but I mean that idea of dealing with adversity, but I think even more than that, her message of looking out for your mates, and looking out for people, and potentially, some tough love and kindness. I mean, she's the founder of the Kindness Factory, and she's written a book. I think I've forgotten the name of it. Is it called The Kindness?
Kindness,
yeah.
Yeah.
The messages on so many fronts sort of overlaid beautifully with what Read the Play are all about. And anyone that didn't go to the event, make sure you get along to a Read the Play event. And I know you've got a number of them coming up. We might touch on that. Delta, do you want to say anything else about the breakfast yesterday?
Just that it was a very well put together event, Michelle. Thank you. And the ripple effect of Kath's message, I think, is what everyone takes away from that. You sort of approach situations a little bit differently. You think, how might I respond to this and choose to be kind? You're actively making a decision. So, I think everyone left the brekkie having had an amazing experience. So, again, well done.
Thank you.
I think Kath had so many circumstances where most people would listen to it and think you're within your rights to just curl up in a ball and shy away from life. And she didn't, and it was an inspiration. So, well done to you on securing such an amazing speaker that works so beautifully in with what you're doing. Now, let's talk maybe some more events. So, exposure and funding are obviously massive in achieving some of these targets, these lofty targets that you've got. How do we get involved? What are some of the events that you've got? How can people get involved with Read the Play, turning up to events, donating, volunteering? How can they help?
Where do I start? I guess we soft launched a pretty cool initiative yesterday as well, where we've got another bold ambition of 2,000 people on GMHBA Stadium to celebrate World Mental Health Day on October 10. This is probably going to be consuming my time, I would imagine, over the next couple of months. And we are really thrilled to work with Active Geelong in this space as well. And again, that synergy of, being mentally healthy and being active, and there's some great links between the two there. So very excited about that. There is some information about to circulate on that. We're just working through a few things. We did get actually a major partner yesterday, which I can't announce yesterday, but they came up to us at the end of the breakfast and said, yeah, we're absolutely in. So I think I can thank Kath for that as well, probably. But so that's number one and the biggest one, and it's going to be a really big fundraiser for the two charities. And yeah, as I said, collaborating with the group like that makes a lot of sense for us, and we're really hoping to reach everyone in Geelong and businesses, schools, individuals and families, and really get everyone involved in that day. In terms of other events that we've got, our Parenting Young Minds is probably another one that's come up this year, and it was a focus of ours, just getting some feedback, I think, from player wellbeing officers at clubs saying parents are talking to us the most and they got a lot of questions. So we had Dr. Michael Carr-Gregg earlier in the year, and I know you were both there, and he's just amazing, and that's a series that will continue. We're actually in Colac on the 28th of July with another psychologist that day, but it's something that we really want to grow, that concept, and again hope that becomes a big event, not just 100 people in an auditorium at a school, which is great, but it would be great if we could get into the president's room and fill that as well. So those things are happening. In terms of just the ability to make a donation, our website, readtheplay.org.au, all the information is there, and we certainly welcome donors, and it's something that has grown for us in the last 12 months. We are receiving regular donations, which is lovely, and I love to acknowledge those people that take the time to do that. The other really important thing, and it probably links to our target of 15,000, is we need a lot of volunteers to help us with that. So it does keep me up at night thinking about how many programs per day that could potentially be, and then how that works in terms of our volunteer group. And at the moment we've probably got 12, and I think we probably need to start the year next year. We're probably looking at least 30 to 40 that we need to recruit in that time. And I am confident that they're out there. There's a lot of different people that are our volunteers. It's not a set, you have to be this. It's very much there's a spectrum of different people with different skill sets. And, I think some of our best presenters I've seen are the ones that can talk about their own experiences with mental health. So there's generally that little link there where people have that personal experience, and I think it just makes it all the better. And I hear feedback from participants and young people that, again, when one of our presenters in particular talks about her story, they really do resonate with that and go and talk to her at the end about it. So our volunteers are doing such great things in the space. I'm really proud of them as well. So, but we need to get more.
This is a little bit of a side. I'm not sure whether Peter's talked to you or I've talked to you about a young man that I had on the podcast, Charlie Crozier, who has developed an app called Volley. Has Peter introduced you to Charlie?
Yes, and we haven't spoken yet, but there's been email communication.
Beautiful.
Yes.
That idea of connecting people, giving them a source to connect with charities or organisations that they want to support is there's obviously a need, not only with Read the Play, with lots of organisations.
Absolutely.
Any other events coming up? You had a couple more this week, didn't you?
Yeah, we do actually, just to celebrate mental health round. So AFL Barwon every year, and it usually it's called Read the Play round, and we just sort of like tweaked it a little bit this year. That starts, it's Friday, isn't it? Yes, tonight. So with our Friday night netball competition, and all of our 15 and under netball and under 16 football teams have a special match ball and a medallion for our player that, is adjudged not necessarily the best, but the person that sort of exemplifies Read the Play the best in the game. So that is happening across our region. The Colac district actually had theirs last Saturday, and that was a really great success. We've got a luncheon at Ocean Grove Football Netball Club tomorrow. That's a Saturday. Again, just an opportunity to get everyone together from different services. So we're linking in with Tackle Your Feelings, which is another great mental health initiative that sort of sits in the senior coach and player space across football and netball, and has a really great footprint in this region. And we've got Daniel Gorringe coming down, and he's our guest speaker tomorrow, and he's a bit of fun. And we've got Erin Hoare as well, so former AFL player in the women's comp, and also a Melbourne Vixen, actually. I've known her for that long, and she's got a psychology degree and a wealth of experience in the world of mental health as well. So really excited about that. And then just because we want to do more, we've got one more event Saturday night. So the Cats gave us some tickets into the Dulux Community Bay, and we wanted to take advantage of that. So we've created a leadership experience for our 16 to 18-year-olds that have completed the program this year. So I think 11 football netball clubs have jumped in on board with that. We're doing a little bit of a leadership session before the game, a little bit of an opportunity for them to give us feedback about Read the Play and the program and what we can do better, and I'm really excited about that. And then we've got Darcy Dunstan, he's a former SAS soldier that's just going to come in and talk about his story as well. And then we'll have some pizza and then go and watch the footy. So I'll then lie down for a while.
I was going to say, I'm getting tired listening to you talk about that. So again, thanks for spending half an hour with us, because I know you got plenty on your plate. You mentioned some of the support, and when you go to an event like you did yesterday, sometimes you kind of sit and go, oh, here we go, we're going to do all these thank yous, you're going to thank 1,000 people. That to me was one of the best parts of the breakfast, like the way you acknowledged everyone that's involved with Read the Play. It was amazing, an amazing way. And one of the things I noted from the last event or last year was the amount of ambassadors. You've obviously the ambassador roles have grown, and I think we had Sarah Ellsworthy and Emily Sutcliffe that were there yesterday. Who else has joined in the sort of ambassadorial roles at Read the Play?
Yeah, so with the three that were there yesterday, Claudia Kanjaka was the other one. She had to head off to training that morning. So Claudia's been on board with us for a few years. Sarah, this is her second year. Emily is a star and comes in the soccer space, so we were really rapt to sort of branch out there.
So Geelong Galaxy and the Essendon Royals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so and she's from Wrexham, funnily enough. I'm not sure if you've watched the Welcome to Wrexham, the soccer program on, I can't think what it's on actually. It's Netflix or one of those, but
it's the Ryan Reynolds.
That's correct.
Yeah, club.
Yeah, that's the one. So it's funny I'm sure she gets sick of hearing people saying, "Oh, you're from there." So yeah, fantastic to have those three on board again. Mark Blixarves and Mark O'Connor from the Cats men's program. They've been great supporters for a very long time. And then there's George Blagasevic, I think it's the pronunciation, from the Geelong United group as well. So he got on board with us this year. So always looking for a few more too. I think the more sports that we can get involved, the better. So that's
what sport are we missing? Which
we actually haven't got netball at the moment,
okay.
And that's really that one's really on my radar. So we did have Kelsey Brown involved a little bit last year, but then she went over to WA and played over there. So it made it a little bit more difficult this year. But there's plenty of really great Geelong talent.
So Sarah Ellsworth is Geelong United basketball, is that right?
That's correct,
yep.
Yeah. So netball's a key. Cricket's probably the other one I'm keen on. So if Aaron Finch is listening, I'd love to have a chat.
Come on, Finchy. He listens to the podcast all the time.
I'm sure
He's
he does.
Always sending us great praise. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to take a little bit of a side. Delta and I both attended that Michael Carr-Gregg presentation that was at St Joey's College. It was brilliant, and you mentioned how a lot of parents, like there's this line of connection with parents, and I don't know whether it was heated. There was some sort of conversation. You sensed some of the frustration with parents around the access to resources, and one of the suggestions was obviously Read the Plays in the sporting community. And one of the things that's obvious, given the amount of work that you do, is that you can't be everywhere. So you've got to kind of pick the line of sight that's going to give you the best result. But I was having a look at your website, and for anyone out there, parents or otherwise, the amount of resources that are on your website is extraordinary. So I suppose if this is going out to parents out there that maybe their kids aren't in local sporting communities, Read the Play is still an unbelievable resource for you to actually go and source information, and you can attend things like the Michael Carr Gregg session. How do you think about that? I'm sure those kind of things do keep you up at night because you go, I literally cannot be everywhere and do everything. But in terms of your message to parents, whether they're in sporting communities or not, what would you say to them?
Look, it does keep me up at night because there's a million things that we could be doing, and I'd love to. I was even just thinking that this morning when I'm trying to do social media, invoicing and, day-to-day work, and thinking if we had 50 staff, gee, we'd be great. So it is one that's difficult, and it was a really important, I guess, switch for us slightly to move into that parent space this year, and that was really because we were getting a lot of questions. And I think for parents out there, it's probably trying to have those conversations as much as possible with and empowering yourselves to try and get as much information as possible about how to have a conversation with your young people. I reckon that is the number one thing. And even the Michael Carr Gregg event, the thing that when he was talking about how to talk, how to ask questions, how to follow up, but also finding out where all the resources are is quite confronting, and it is. The Read the Play website is a great starting point. The schools are a great space, that we know that there's mental health, I guess, people there that are dedicated, and in, I think, public schools are funded at the moment in those spaces. So there's so many people out there. We know it takes a long time to get your child into a psychologist. We absolutely do, and it's horrendous. But there are some things that I guess can be accessed in that time while you wait that will help. So I think, it's certainly something that if there's something missing on our website that someone thinks we need to add, please come and tell me, because it's something that we're trying to build as we go. And that it was a great platform when I started in the role 2 years ago, and we are trying to add to it as we go.
I think it's fair to say that our kids, correct me if your opinion's different here, Jay, they have a lot more conversations and insight into their own mental health and well-being as opposed to perhaps our generation where it just wasn't talked about. So they're really well informed. So it's challenging as a parent to be in a position, as you say, to know how to approach those conversations, to know where to find resources and support our young ones. So yeah, kudos again to Read the Play for providing not only those sessions to our young people, but for those of us who are parenting them to have those additional resources to go and access, because it's challenging.
Yeah, it is.
So the message to all of the local, federal parliamentarians is that this organisation needs funding. They've got great things that they can do if they're given the resources to do so. And to the local Geelong community, get involved. As Michelle said, volunteer, donate, get to an event. We'll make sure we've got in the show notes, there's links to everything. Where can people find you, Michelle, and Read the Play? Whereabouts can they find you on the interwebs?
Yeah, so Instagram and Facebook at the moment. I haven't dabbled into anything, although we are asking our young people tomorrow night what platforms of social media we should be doing to access them, which is going to scare me because I'm pretty sure I don't want to go down that track. But just those at the moment. We're on LinkedIn as well.
Hey, listen, Burke Britton's got a TikTok apparently, so we're up with.
We do.
That's what's worrying me.
Yes. You did such an awesome job yesterday. It'd probably be remiss of me not to have you recap on maybe some of the supporting partners. I know Kempe Engineering, founding partner, been amazing over the journey. Maybe I'll read a few out and you can tell me whether I've missed any. Obviously, Geelong Cats, Hamlin, WorkSafe, GMHBA, Roderick Insurance, Barwon Health, APCO Foundation, Geelong Connected Communities, Give Where You Live, Geelong Community Foundation, and the list goes on. Again, we're going to miss a bunch, but I think one of the things you do unbelievably well, Michelle, is represent those organisations that support you. So again, kudos to you on having run an amazing event. Congratulations on having done such an amazing job in your time with Read the Play to date, and I've no doubt that the generosity and support from the Geelong community and beyond will see all of those targets being achieved and some in future years. So well done.
You're in a position to let us know what the funds raised were for yesterday's event, or
Not quite, still calculating, but I think it will be sitting above the 20,000 mark.
That's
awesome. Which is just brilliant. So
Yeah.
helpful.
great?
Yeah.
Any other closing comments? Any call to action, Michelle, before we wrap this one up?
Not a call to action, just a thanks to Burke Britain first and foremost for being our presenting partner yesterday, but also just the Geelong community. I don't think that this organisation put somewhere else, it can't do what it does. Geelong is just really special. The people, our foundations, the grants that we have access to, the local businesses that throw their support. I know times are tough, particularly at the moment, and I can feel that too. So for people to still show up yesterday and dig deep was really important.
It's
So
like the
thank
who's
you.
who of Geelong yesterday.
It was.
It was amazing. Yeah. It was nice seeing Ian Cover and Ben Riddle doing the waxing on and waxing off with the auction, and then Kingy did obviously an amazing, Tom King did an amazing
yes, he
job
did.
as MC. So again, Michelle, well done. Thanks for dropping in to have a chat with us, and we look forward to having you back on for another episode after some of your future events. So well done.
Thank you very much.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britain FP, or Google Burke Britain Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britain Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.